Let me know if you. I think it feels good. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Tuesday, November the 9th City Council meeting. I now call this meeting to order. Our Pledge of Allegiance and Invocation tonight will be given by Councilman Ledford. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. Tonight, we have a very special presentation. We're going to recognize the Chattanooga Fire Department for turning 150 years old. Normally, that wouldn't be a good thing, but in this case, it's 150 years of serving the citizens of Chattanooga. Chief Hyman.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Council, for allowing us to kind of speak on this. As you've seen some of our social media stuff, we've been talking about the 150th for a couple of weeks now. It is a big milestone for the Chattanooga Fire Department. We've come a long way, and looking back on the 150 years and from what I've learned from our historians that just put together our book and that, learned a lot about the fire department that I didn't know, and it's amazing how far we've come. So 150 years is a big milestone for us. Looks like I need 150 years of training on this. I'm clicking it. There we go. So as you can see, some of these pictures, I'm just going to scroll through some of these pictures that are kind of important to us, that you see kind of how we've aged over the years. The whole concept of firefighting hasn't changed a whole lot. There's been innovations in technology and obviously innovations in equipment that have really made our job much safer and much easier, but the danger is still ever present. The danger is still there for our firefighters that risk their lives every single day. These individuals that you see in some of these photos really paved the way. 1871 was a long time ago. And what you see is horse-drawn aerials, and those are probably old gasoline type pumpers that really served the citizens of Chattanooga a long time ago. And they were very proud of that equipment then, just as much as we are proud of the equipment that we get today. And no, that's not a Three Stooges picture on the left, although it kind of looks like it, but what you see in those pictures are the white shirts. And that's one of those traditions that fire departments have over the years, are the white shirts and caps. And some of those traditions still exist. And if you've ever watched the Backtrack movie and they talk about 150 years of tradition unimpeded by progress, there is some truth to that. The traditions that we do feel are important in the fire department that do kind of hinder us at times, and we have to really take a look at that. But I do pride our department specifically in, one, accepting those traditions, and two, understanding that we need to progress. And that's one thing that I am proud of our department for being, is a progressive department. We are an ISO class 1, and there's only top 0.5% of us in the country that are an ISO class 1. And that's just an insurance service. And we've talked about ISO for years, but it's kind of an important marker for us. It really kind of gives our department a grade. of how far we've come and how far and what all we've gotten accomplished to that point. But we do have a very professional fire department and very proud of them. Again, you see the steamer pumper there on the top left. That's an 1837, I believe, or 1889 pumper. Anyway, it's a steamer pumper that was drawn by horses. So you can imagine how difficult it was. That specific steamer pumper alone was actually loaded up on the railroad and taken to Knoxville for a large coal fire that they had back in the early 1900s. And that was kind of the inception of mutual aid back then. A lot of our equipment got shipped out of Chattanooga via rail to go help on large fires. And we're talking fires that were very difficult to fight back then, that lasted for days because the equipment wasn't there. And it was a large manpower intensive type thing. So I think that was kind of the inception of mutual aid. If you remember, just a number of years ago, we just entered into the Tri-State Mutual Aid Association to help provide support not only to the communities surrounding us outside of the city limits, but to also let them come in and help us in our time of need. And that mutual aid program has been wildly successful. And we continue to grow that program. We continue to grow those relationships. And I think that's what the heart of it all is about the relationships that we've built over the years with the other various fire departments to help provide that support. So as you know, we have 26 fire companies and 20 fire stations and 390 firefighters in our operations division. And it sounds like a big number and sounds like a lot of apparatus, but a large fire or a large event or a large emergency, as you know, from the tornadoes to the fires we've had here in Chattanooga, how quickly those resources get depleted and how important it is to have those relationships with those other departments to help out during those times of need. I think what was neat also too, we had a press conference Monday and had a lot of retirees that showed up because they are still very prideful of the department. They're still engaged in the department. They still participate in a lot of our history stuff. So the photos that you see here and the history book that we put together was put together by some of our operational folks and our retirees that were actually engaged that saved a lot of these photos and have told countless stories about this kind of stuff. Battalion Chief Bobby Gann was my first battalion chief when I graduated the academy in 1996. And he rode or drove that one fire apparatus right there. It's a 1965 model long nose. That was the apparatus that he drove and the company that he was in. So it's nice to see those individuals engaged still in the fire department. They helped raise me. You know, they gave me lots of opportunities, pointed me in the right direction to get me in the position that I'm in. So I say that is just a testament to all the folks that paved the way for the past 150 years to help even me and help all of our firefighters get to where they're at today. And I think we have to really recognize all those folks that really paved that way. It warms my heart. I teared up a little bit Monday, seeing some of those retirees telling some of those stories. It's heartfelt stories. They've seen a lot of tragedy. They've seen a lot of bad things, and they've seen a lot of progression in our fire department. And to see somebody that's retired from the service still actively engaged and wanting to see us succeed more really helps pave the way. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Honoring our past but ready for the future. Mayor Kelly did an outstanding job. We got him a t-shirt. He got us some pay. So I think to me that's an awesome trade-off. Awesome trade-off. But no, we really appreciate Mayor Kelly and what he's done for the fire department in his tenure so far. And we really appreciate the city council and all that you've done. What you see up there too is our next future of firefighters. We have 27 cadets there that just graduated not too long ago. I just saw a couple of them this morning. We had a fire in the Enclave 3 o'clock this morning, and I saw about 4 or 5 of these rookies right out of this class caught their first fire. So to see that kind of progression, I remember the day when those were my first fires. I remember those days. And ever since then, I've done nothing but continue to learn and continue to have that passion for that training. And seeing these individuals pave the way for the next 150 years is another testament to our department. And things are going along the way. Our apparatus has certainly changed from a steamer pumper to a nice 2020 new pumper that costs considerably much more money nowadays, but vitally important to help our firefighters do the job that they need to do. That's a technical piece of equipment. They are expensive to work on. They are difficult to learn, but they're fairly reliable. And what we get out of that is a testament to you guys approving purchases that we send here for these kind of apparatus. Our firefighters can't do the job that they need to do safely without good equipment. And you guys have helped support us over the years, whether it's second set of turnout gear, every issue we brought you guys have supported the fire department. And I really do appreciate that and really appreciate that support. Without that kind of support, we can't be a successful department. And without that support, it puts our firefighters at risk. So I really do appreciate that. Another emblem that you see there in the center is one of our firefighters, actually, Julius Hubbard. He's a lieutenant at Station 6 on Red Shift. That emblem that you see in the center there and the emblem that you see on the back of the t-shirt, he personally designed that. He personally designed it because he had a passion for this department. And he represents all three shifts. You see the stars on there, the green, red, and the blue star that represents our three shifts. You obviously see the Fireman's Fountain, and you see Lookout Mountain and our city behind that. I think there's even maybe a picture of the aquarium in there. So he really put a lot of thought into this 150th celebration and how important it is for our roots here in Chattanooga and how proud we are of the fire department. In 2007, we introduced the urban search and rescue teams. When I first came on the department in 96, we looked in magazines at rope rescue techniques like this, thinking, man, I wish our department could get into that. And come finally in 2007, we were able to get an urban search and rescue team, funding for that, and a lot of training that has continued to go on today. And that's some pretty technical stuff there. That was stuff that firefighters in the early days dreamed about doing. And we have a team of over 100 folks that can do that kind of work there that we train on constantly. And it goes back to training. It all goes back to training. I think you guys know exactly how passionate I have been about training as being a training chief before and knowing that we can't train enough for a job that can kill us. We really put a lot of emphasis on the training. And I'll end that with, I just spoke with an individual from Norfolk Southern, who is the hazardous materials regional coordinator for Norfolk Southern. He brought a rail car to us. We do a rail car every couple of years when they bring one in to train on some of the valves that are on these rail cars and how to stop leaks and all that, some of the technical stuff. But his gratitude for the Chattanooga Fire, he made the statement. He said, I do this all over the country, but the Chattanooga Fire Department has the best attitude and the best passion for training. He said, I go to different departments throughout the whole country, and sometimes people just don't want to be there. And he said, I did not see that with the Chattanooga Fire Department. He said, what I saw were individuals that wanted to learn and had a passion for the job and had a good attitude about it. And that's what our firefighters are every day. And I think you know that, but I have to say it because I am extremely proud of them. Just seeing the work that they do every single day, going on that fire this morning and seeing some of the recruits and all the stuff that we saw this morning for an individual's worst day, a poor couple in the enclave, they're losing their house. And we see that happen on every single day. We run almost a fire a day in this city and see people lose stuff. But we see people lose stuff in other ways too, whether it's vehicle wrecks, just loss of life, just through poor health. And we see a lot of tragedy. But to see firefighters put their best foot forward to do the best thing that they can for the citizens of Chattanooga just tells me that the next 150 years will be another impressive 150 years and how proud I am of the Chattanooga Fire Department.
Thank you, Chief. All right, moving on now to our agenda. Could I have a motion on the minutes? We have a motion on the minutes with a proper second. Questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Coonrod, Councilman Byrd, Councilwoman Dotley, Councilwoman Burrs, Councilman Hester, Councilman Ledford, Councilwoman Hill, Vice Chairman Smith, Chairman Henderson.
Yes.
9 yeses.
The ayes have it. We have no ordinances on final reading this afternoon. Moving to ordinances on first reading under finance 6A, please.
An ordinance to amend the operations budget ordinance number 13710, known as the fiscal year 2021 through 2022 operations budget ordinance, to amend section 6B so as to appropriate $38,640,506 from the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021.
Councilwoman Burrs.
Move approval.
We have a motion on the floor to approve item 6A with a proper second. Questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Hill. Councilman Ledford. Councilman Hester. Councilwoman Byrd. Councilwoman Dotley. Councilman Byrd. Councilwoman Coonrod. Vice Chairman Smith. Chairman Henderson.
Yes.
9 yeses.
Motion to approve carries. Moving now into planning, and there are several this afternoon. Madam Clerk, 6B, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 706 Miriam Street from R1 residential zone to RTZ residential townhouse zero lot line zone, subject to certain conditions.
Is the applicant for case 2021-0163 present? All right, thank you, sir. Is there any opposition to this case present? All right, Karen, if you don't mind, come forward. I know that we had a letter of opposition at the Neighborhood Hill City meeting. You want to just brief us on this, and then I'll give the applicant opportunity to speak.
I can, and there's a presentation in the folder. I'll just speak to it while the presentation's being loaded. This is a request to rezone in the Hill City neighborhood, property from R1 zone to RTZ residential townhouse zone at 706 Miriam Street. The proposal is for single-family detached homes using that RTZ residential townhouse zero lot line zone. There's 2 units, a density of 8.3 dwelling units an acre. The Hill City North Side Plan recommends an urban single-family form of development for this site. And it's intended for single-family dwellings with lot sizes as small as 5,000 square feet. The staff found that the proposal for two single-family dwellings with a lot size of 5,300 square feet is compatible with the plan. The site plan does show the 2 single-family dwellings there. So staff and planning commission had similar findings and recommendations that the request is compatible with the adopted plan and the request is compatible with adjacent land uses and development form with the condition that single-family detached residential uses only at the site. And I have additional slides if you'd like to go through them.
I think that'll give us an overview as of right now. I'm going to ask the applicant if he would like to come and speak at this time. Normally we have a 7-minute and then a 2-minute rebuttal since there's no opposition present at this time. I guess if you just want your full 9 minutes, you can.
No, I'm good. I don't really have anything to add. I think she said everything. I'm just looking to build an additional house on this vacant lot. And in working with the planning commission, they recommended RTZ so I could build a single family home. So.
Okay. All right. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you'll allow me to put myself in your position for the moment, as chairman, our rules dictate that the chairman is not allowed to make a motion. So as chairman of planning and zoning, I wanted to take on that responsibility for this evening. I do have a letter from the Hill City Neighborhood Association, which bears great weight on decisions in this neighborhood. And the letter is addressed to Chairman Henderson, and the Hill City Neighborhood Association did vote unanimously to oppose this zoning. And so my question is, I feel like I'm on planning commission again today. My question is to the applicant, are you aware that the Hill City Association, Neighborhood Association did vote unanimously to deny this? And also for the record, in committee last week, Chairman Henderson made comments that he would be denying this
Yes,
application.
I did speak with the councilman and he did let me know that the association, the Hill City Association did not recommend it, did not want the change. So I am
Yeah.
aware of that.
Okay,
And he did let me know that he would follow what they voted on in that meeting.
okay.
So those are really things out of my control,
I completely understand.
Yes,
So,
sir.
yeah. And I appreciate you being so understanding with in listening to the neighborhood association as their weight in this matter. So unfortunately, I will have to make a motion to deny.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to deny. Do I have a second? All right, we have a second to deny. Any questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Coonrod. Councilman Byrd. Councilwoman Dotley. Councilwoman Burrs. Councilman Hester. Councilman Ledford. Councilwoman Hill. Vice Chairman Smith. Chairman Henderson.
Yes,
That's 8 yeses.
motion to deny carries 8-0. Madam Clerk, let's move now to 6C, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 1310 Hanover Street, located in the 200 to 300 block of Tremont Street from C5 Neighborhood Commercial Zone to UGC Urban General Commercial Zone, subject to certain conditions.
2021-0164 is the applicant present. Thank you. Is there any opposition to this rezoning present? Councilwoman Hill, I am seeing an applicant, but no opposition.
Move to approve.
We have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Any questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Hill. Councilman Ledford. Councilman Hester. Councilwoman Burrs. Councilwoman Dotley. Councilman Byrd. Councilwoman Coonrod. Vice Chairman Smith. Chairman Henderson.
Yes,
9 yeses.
so moved. D, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone property located at 5468 Hickson Pike from R2 residential zone to C2 convenience commercial zone for the front portion of the site fronting Hickson Pike. See attached map and O1 office zone for the rear portion of the site along Old Hickson Pike. See attached map, subject to certain conditions.
Case 2021-0177 is applicant present. Is there any opposition present? Mr. Vice Chair, I see no applicant nor any opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have spoken to the applicant. I am aware that he was not going to be here this evening. Ms. Rennick, we discussed a condition that I'm going to want placed on this. Can you go ahead and read that before I move approval and then move to amend with that condition, please?
Okay. Adult-oriented establishments, self-storage, self-service storage facilities, open-air markets, vehicular repair or service facilities, or wholesaling and accessory warehousing uses shall be prohibited.
Thank you, ma'am. To let the council know, I will be amending after this is on the floor to add that as a condition. So for the moment, I move approval.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second.
I'd like to move to amend with the language Ms. Rennick had stated previously.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to amend the conditions with a proper second. This vote is for the amendment only. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Coonrod. Councilman Byrd. Councilwoman Dotley. Councilwoman Burrs. Councilman Hester. Councilman Ledford. Councilwoman Hill. Vice Chairman Smith.
Yes.
Chairman Henderson.
Yes,
9 yeses.
motion to amend does carry. Mr. Vice Chair.
I'd like to move approval as amended, please.
All right, now we have a motion on the floor to approve as amended with a proper second. Are there any questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Hill. Councilman Ledford. Councilman Hester. Councilwoman Burrs. Councilwoman Dotley. Councilman Byrd. Councilwoman Coonrod. Vice Chairman Smith. Chairman Henderson.
Yes,
9 yeses.
motion to approve as amended does carry. 6E, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to amend condition number 9 of ordinance number 13110, previous case number 2016-0060 for properties located at 2415, 2423, and 2441 Elam Lane and parts of 2440 Elam Lane and parts of 2515, 2519, and 2527 Gun Barrel Road.
Case 2021-0166, is the applicant present? Is there any opposition present? Councilman Ledford,
Move to approve, sir.
we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Coonrod, Councilman Byrd, Councilwoman Dotley, Councilwoman Burrs, Councilman Hester, Councilman Ledford, Councilwoman Hill, Vice Chairman Smith, Chairman Henderson,
Yes,
9 yes.
motion to approve carries. 6F, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone properties located at 5116, 5120, and 5134 Highway 58 and several unaddressed tracts 120 ND 012, 014, 015, 016, and 018 of land in the 5100 block of Highway 58 from C5 Neighborhood Commercial Zone to C2 Convenience Commercial Zone, subject to certain conditions.
Case 2021-0169, is the applicant present? Thank you. Is there any opposition to this case present? I'm sorry? Yes, it is. Okay, all right, thank you. Councilman Hester, like a presentation, then the applicant? Okay.
This is a request for rezoning of property from C5 Neighborhood Commercial to C2 Convenience Commercial in the Highway 58 area. The proposed use is self-storage, boat and car dealership, and just a little bit less than 9 acres. The property does front on Highway 58. It is just west of the Enterprise South area. The plan for the area, the Highway 58 Community Land Use Plan recommends a neighborhood commercial use for the site. It's intended for lower intensity retail, business, and professional offices. And the staff notes that the C2 zone allows neighborhood commercial uses as recommended by the plan. However, it also allows higher intense commercial uses that may not be compatible with adjacent single-family residential subdivision to the east of the site. And this is actually the Mimosa Circle subdivision. So staff found that the request was partly compatible with the adopted Highway 58 plan and adjacent commercial land uses in the commercial development form for the property along the front. So staff recommendation was to not deny the applicant's request and approve C2 for only a portion of the site. And I'll show you just that portion here in a moment, subject to the following condition: commercial signs and billboards, open air markets, and adult-oriented establishments shall be prohibited. And I'm going to just, so it's just for that, the staff was recommending just, excuse me, for that portion of the property that fronts on Highway 58. So there was no opposition at Planning Commission. However, applicant provided a revised site plan and proposed conditions to address the impacts on the properties on Mimosa Circle. So at that time, Planning Commission found the request was compatible and provided a recommendation to approve with a list of conditions, including the use restrictions I just mentioned, the landscape buffer, privacy fencing, and directing light away from the R1 residential zone property. And so just this was the site plan provided with the application, and this is what staff reviewed for the recommendation to only approve the portion on C2 along Highway 58. And then the revised site plan was the one provided at Planning Commission that they based their recommendation off of, along with the list of conditions provided by the applicant.
Right. Any questions, Ms. Rennick, at this point? Councilman Hester? You're, yeah.
Okay,
You're on.
what we need to do is defer this to give the applicant and the neighborhood a chance to communicate regarding this development, if that's okay. For 2 weeks, but we want to hear from the applicant first.
Sure. Well, if we're going to hear from the applicant, we need to hear from the opposition as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Applicant, would you come forward? Mr. IT, could you give us 7 minutes?
Well, good evening. My name is Alan Jones with Ace Engineering. I'm representing both the property owner and potential developers for this site. First of all, I just want to apologize, Mr. Councilman Hester. We went through planning commission without opposition. Found out late last week that the neighbors do have some concerns. Don't know what those concerns are yet. And as he said, we'd be happy to do a deferral if needed. If the presentation today doesn't satisfy the council. Quick little summary. The original site plan we submitted packed out the site pretty tight, and we do understand that that was a pretty heavy use that would back up next to a single family residential neighborhood. So we did look at reducing the scope of that site in half, and then some of the conditions that we kind of discussed during planning commission was to expand the buffer requirements. There's a good stand of trees along the southern property boundary. So looking at allowing 30 feet of the 40-foot buffer to remain undisturbed, but then still having a 40-foot landscape buffer. And anywhere where the landscape would be thinned out, or that's thin from existing vegetation, we will fill that in with additional vegetation. In addition, we'll provide a 6-foot privacy fence along the residential lots. The property is currently zoned C5, which does allow higher intensity use commercial zones. We're looking at putting self-storage in the rear because, in my opinion, that's a low intensity use. It's very low. So that's kind of how we came across to develop this site. Putting the more active along the commercial frontage along Highway 58 and the less intense commercial use in the rear. But at this time, I'll pause and let the opposition have a few moments to speak.
All right. Thank you, sir. You do have a 2-minute rebuttal if you so choose. Mr. IT, if you'd put 9 minutes on the clock. Opposition, if you'd like to come and present your case at this time. There will be a total of 9 minutes, so I'm not sure how many speakers you'll have, but if you divide up the time equally.
We've been living in this community.
Would you give us your name for the record, please?
My name is Edward Freeman. I live at 5044 Mimosa Circle.
Thank you.
We've been dealing with this thing for the last 12 or 15 years. In our neighborhood, where they want to do this, put this C2 down through there, we don't know what they're putting in there. And we do not want that to go down through our back of our neighborhood. Right in the back of our neighborhood, everybody got their own grass growing and scrubby growing and whatever, but they bringing this stuff in, and we got the young people there. We just don't want. We need to put that down to our back. This is not the first time. We've been dealing with this same thing for the last 12 or 16 years. We're asking y'all to turn this thing down. That's what that's our problem.
Yes, my name is Alonzo Noble. I live in the community, been there for 33 years now. And I think as Mr. Freeman spoke and said that we've been fighting this for the last 12 years. And right now there's something I've talked with Council Hessman about that's probably only in the back of my neighborhood and my property and my neighbor's property, where there's a car lot right there now with a huge amount of tires that's piled up, which if they catch fire can bring damage to our area right there. So that's something we need to check out and get fixed too. But as far as speaking on this issue, it's something that we've been fighting for years, and I'm not clear about what, I know that we didn't want no storage building back behind our community because of certain things that brings to the community. So we stand strongly against this rezoning. So we appreciate if the council would stand with us.
My name's John Courtney, and I live at 5112 Mimosa Circle. And I retired from Chattanooga Fire Department in 92 as the first black fireman, one of them. And I've been living there for 31 years now. And I want to live there the rest of my life in peace. And I'm against this rezoning. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. All right, the applicant does have a 2-minute rebuttal if they would like to take it at this time.
I'll just take it just a couple seconds. First of all, thank you for your service on the fire department. It's a long tenure, so thank you, sir. And to kind of address some of the distances and the setbacks, I did a quick takeoff, with the 40-foot buffer, the back of the homes is going to be 115 to 120 feet from any improvements on this proposed site. So I think there's going to be ample distance, buffering between this potential development and the existing single family. I am willing to meet with them if they're open to it. But I know it sounds like they have a hard stance on where they stand, but I'm more than happy to meet with them if there's other conditions that could help ease their concerns. And in addition, if it does help as something to consider, I did talk with the property owner, Mr. Greg Brock, this afternoon, and he is willing to put self-storage as an excluded use of the C2 rezone if that helps. If that helps ease council's consideration on this rezoning request.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Hester, you're still active. I do have a lot by Councilman Ledford. Oh. But do you have any questions or comments at this time?
My stance is still the same. I represent the developer and the Mimosa Circle neighborhood. I think it'd be fair to both parties if they could communicate with one another. And we defer this of 2 weeks.
So our, in 2 weeks, our November 23rd meeting is, we have canceled. That would be if you want to defer until the 30th.
To the 30th, correct.
And that is in the form of a motion. Is that correct,
Yes,
sir? Okay. All right. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Rennick, can you remind us what is allowed in C5 currently as it?
So C5 is less intense. So it is smaller footprint buildings. It is, you couldn't do a drive-through restaurant. So it'd be, it does allow retail uses just at a smaller scale, but large drive-through restaurants, gas stations would be prohibited.
And I think the footprint in C5 is 5,000 square
It
feet.
is 5,000 square foot, yes.
And you can have multiple 5,000
You
square
can
foot
have
buildings?
multiple buildings.
Okay, so I want to make sure, Mr. Allen, if you meet with the neighborhood, I want to make sure that Councilman Hester also understand what it's currently zoned now, what is actually allowed versus what is being asked, because if you can find a less intensified use to make it better for the residents, I think you've probably done a good job. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Chairman.
All right. We do have a motion on the floor to defer until November the 30th with a proper second. Are there any other questions or comments? Councilman Byrd.
Thank you, Chair. I think what I'm hearing from Councilman Lefford as well, with his zone right now, they can develop, and it's a potential developing, it could be worse than the conditions and things that they're getting now, right?
It is C5 without conditions, so you're correct. That there is a wide use of C5 zone options that are be available there, and that there are right now proposed 5 uses for the site.
Right.
So yes, I would think that that there would be talk about what could be done there under the existing zone, and then with the conditions proposed for the C2.
So without the C2 being on the table, if this was to be denied today, the C5 can move forward without our consent because it's already zoned, right?
That's correct. The C5 zone has been in place for quite a while now. Since 2016, the site was rezoned from R2 and C5 to C5 for entirety. So yes, it is zoned C5.
And so by them sitting at the table talking and contemplating on making it C2, the community have a right to say some things and conditions that they make and bring to the table so they won't be impacted, correct?
That's right. Those conditions are intended to reduce the impact of a development on this property, on their property.
All right, thank you.
You good? Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair, and Councilman Byrd kind of hit on what I was gonna say in the ad, that I know that from a voting aspect is that this group of people, this community, they come out and vote in numbers. And when you think about listening to your community members that support you, like that's very important. They let their voice be heard. But I do agree that you all having the opportunity to meet with the developer and see what all conditions that you can add versus nothing being done, and then they just place and put whatever at this lot that they want to put. I hear your concerns. And so that's for those very reasons, to give you an opportunity to advocate for what you think is best or what you would like to see on that property as well with what they're proposing. I would rather you guys have that opportunity than not to have an opportunity at all. So just know that we do hear you. We hear your concerns.
All right, thank you. All right, I see no other lights. We have a motion on the floor to defer until November the 30th with a proper second. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Hill. Councilman Ledford. Councilman Hester.
Yes.
Councilwoman Burrs. Councilwoman Dotley. Councilman Byrd. Councilwoman Coonrod. Vice Chairman Smith. Chairman Henderson.
Yes,
9 yeses.
motion to defer until November the 30th does carry. 6G, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone properties located at 2997 Edgemond Forest Lane, 6420 Shallowford Road, and a portion of 6418 Shallowford Road from R1 residential zone to R3 residential zone, subject to certain conditions.
Case 2021-0186. Is the applicant present? Is there any opposition to this case present? Councilwoman Burrs, I see no applicant nor any opposition. I'm sorry, there is opposition. Would you like a presentation and then?
No, sir. Both the neighborhood and the applicant have asked for a 1-week deferral until the 16th.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to defer until November the 16th with a proper second. Questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Coonrod. Councilman Byrd. Councilwoman Dotley. Councilwoman Burrs. Councilman Hester. Councilman Ledford. Councilwoman Hill. Vice Chairman Smith. Chairman Henderson.
Yes,
8 yeses.
motion to defer until November the 16th does carry. Moving now to 6H, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone properties located at 1213, 1215, and an unaddressed parcel on East 13th Street, tax map number 146 PC 008 from R3 residential zone to UGC urban general commercial zone, subject to certain conditions.
Case 2021-0161. Is the applicant present? Okay, thank you. Is there any opposition to this case present? All right, Councilman Byrd, I'm seeing the applicant, but no opposition, sir.
Thank you, Chair, and I haven't received any opposition as well. I move to approve.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve 6H with a proper second. Are there any questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Hill, Councilman Ledford, Councilman Hester, Councilwoman Burrs, Councilwoman Dotley, Councilman Byrd, Councilwoman Coonrod, Vice Chairman Smith, Chairman Henderson,
Yes,
9 yeses.
so moved. 6I, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone properties located at 1101 East Main Street and 1490 Top Street from M1 Manufacturing Zone to UGC Urban General Commercial Zone, subject to certain conditions.
Case 2021-0174, is the applicant present? All right. Is there any opposition to this case present? Councilman Byrd, I'm seeing an applicant, no opposition.
Thank you, Chair. I have not received any opposition to this as well. Move to approve.
We have a motion on the floor to approve 6I with a proper second. Are there any questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Coonrod, Councilman Byrd, Councilwoman Dotley, Councilwoman Burrs, Councilman Hester, Councilman Ledford, Councilwoman Hill, Vice Chairman Smith, Chairman Henderson,
Yes.
9 yeses.
Motion to approve 6I carries 9-0. J, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone property located at 1502 East 14th Street from R1 residential zone to R4 special zone, subject to certain conditions.
Case 2021-0178, is the applicant present? Oh, thank you. Is there any opposition to this case present? Councilman Byrd? Can you hit your line, please? Thank you.
I have not received any opposition on this zoning request, so I move to approve.
Very well. We have a motion on the floor to approve 6J with a proper second. Are there any questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Hill, Councilman Ledford, Councilman Hester, Councilwoman Burrs, Councilwoman Dotley, Councilman Byrd, Councilwoman Coonrod, Vice Chairman Smith, Chairman Henderson,
Yes,
9 yeses.
so moved. Moving now to 6K, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone properties located at 2101 and 2103 South Watkins Street from M1 Manufacturing Zone to UGC Urban General Commercial Zone, subject to certain conditions.
Case 2021-0162, is the applicant present? Is there any opposition present? Councilwoman Coonrod, I see no applicant and no opposition.
I believe Mr. Coleman, he was gonna show up on Zoom virtual. Is he on there?
Oh, I think you're correct. Yes, it looks like the applicant is present on Zoom.
Okay. Miss Karen, I think we talked about this. Just wanna, just for the record, mention it, that he's wanting to do 4 stories. Is that incompatible with what's going on? And on his property, I know we got it, gonna rezone it to UGC, but just wanted to ask that question for the constituent.
Okay. And this was we have the recommendation to approve the UGC, and just a reminder, it's recommending prohibiting the auto-oriented uses, adult-oriented uses, self-service storage facilities, hospitals, and wholesaling with accessory warehousing. And then there's also a second condition that to maximum building height of 3 stories. And I was able to pull the staff recommendation to give a little bit more context to this 3-story condition. Talks about the development form, the area south of East 21st Street is primarily commercial and industrial, and that's where this property is located, with large warehouse buildings with paved parking lots and outdoor storage. The development form to the north across the street from the site transitions to residential uses with 1 to 2 story duplex and single-family dwellings on historic lots of record. The proposed townhouse acts as a transitional development form between the industrial and residential uses, and staff recommends a condition limiting the building height to 3 stories to ensure compatibility with adjacent residential dwellings. And my understanding is, I think Mr. Coleman would like to go to 4 stories. I don't remember the 3-story condition being specifically mentioned at Planning Commission, having any discussion there. So we were just thinking it provided a transition between this and the lower density residential across the street, but there is a street dividing this property and that residential property.
Councilwoman, would you like to bring the applicant in for him to speak?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Vice Chair, would you bring Mr. Coleman in? Mr. Coleman, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, all right. You will have a total of 9 minutes to present your case to the council. Let me get a clock on the dice here. All right, sir, go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Torrey Coleman. Really the native of the community. My father passed down the property to me, being in the family for 20 plus years. Really just want to develop the area to make sure it's the Milltown area, just to make sure that it's a vibrant area that I grew up in and was actually born in the community. I'm proposing it for 4 levels, solely just to give more option to the development. Looking at townhomes, it's a very tight lot. And I was in consideration of just the parking situation. I really want to put some garages or some type of parking for the residents. So just proposing 4 levels. I also, it's also the street that dividing East 21st from the family. And so, yes, that's mine. I really think that 4 level would be very consumable for and comparable to the neighborhood.
All right. Thank you, sir. Does the council have, or Councilwoman Coonrod have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, I have a question. Mr. Coleman, will you be able to do the garages with 3 story? Or just what you have without doing 4? Or are you counting the garage as part of your stories?
Yes, ma'am. And I'm counting the garage as one of the stores. So like I said, the street is adjacent to for the single family. So it's where my plot of land is located between South Watkins and also Eastern First. It's just that run from east to west on that street will provide additional coverage level for the garage.
Mr. Coleman, I apologize. I'm having a difficult time understanding you. So what I'd like to do is just defer this for a week, so you and I can get together and see what's a workable solution for you. Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, you're making a motion to defer until November the 16th. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, we have a motion to defer until November the 16th with a proper second. Questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Coonrod, Councilman Byrd, Councilwoman Dottley, Councilwoman Burrs, Councilman Hester, Councilman Ledford, Councilwoman Hill, Vice Chairman Smith, Chairman Henderson,
Yes.
9 yeses.
Motion to defer until November the 16th carries. 6L, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone property located at 2517 East 16th Street from M2 Light Industrial Zone to C3 Central Business Zone, subject to certain conditions.
Case 2021-0175. Is the applicant present? Thank you. Is there any opposition to this case present? Councilwoman Coonrod, I see an applicant, but no opposition.
I can.
You want to go ahead and hit your light while she's doing that?
It's an approved, the C3 with the condition of auto-oriented alternative financial institutions, liquor stores, and adult-oriented establishments shall not be prohibited, or shall be prohibited, excuse me.
Thank you for reading those conditions. And I do want to thank Ethan Collier again personally for investing in this community. It's just going to change a lot of lives in that community. So I really appreciate it for you to take that risk. Let's say I want to just go in and I want to change the narrative of this community. That community has been high crime area, prostitution, drugs in this area. And for you to step out and say, I'm going to be a part of that change, like I really appreciate it. And just so thankful that you thought about and making that investment in District 9. So with that being said, move to approve.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve 6L with a proper second. Any questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Hill, Councilman Ledford, Councilman Hester, Councilwoman Burrs, Councilwoman Dottley, Councilman Byrd, Councilwoman Coonrod, Vice Chairman Smith, Chairman Henderson,
Yes,
9 yes.
motion to approve carries. 6M, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone property located at 1805, 1807, 1809, and 1811 South Lyerly Street from R2 residential zone to C3 central business zone, subject to certain conditions.
Case 2021-0176. Is the applicant present?
Ethan?
Mr. Collier? Is there any opposition present? Councilwoman Coonrod?
Ms. Karen, if you'll read the condition.
This one is a condition to residential uses only.
Thank you. Move to approve.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Coonrod, Councilman Byrd, Councilwoman Dottley, Councilwoman Burrs, Councilman Hester, Councilman Ledford, Councilwoman Hill, Vice Chairman Smith, Chairman Henderson,
Yes,
9 yeses.
motion to approve 6M carries. N, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone property located at 2500 East 19th Street from R2 residential zone to UGC urban general commercial zone, subject to certain conditions.
Case 2021-0181. Is the applicant present? Thank you. Is there any opposition to this case present? Okay. This is interesting. Councilwoman Coonrod, you want to hear a presentation and then we'll take the applicant and opposition?
This is a request to rezone property from R2 residential zone to R3 residential zone. This is south of the Milltown development, but it's not connected to that effort. Its request is a continued use as a triplex. The property is located just south of East 19th Street and 35 feet to the west of Dodds Avenue. It's an existing duplex structure. Staff and Planning Commission had similar findings that the request is compatible with the adopted plan, adjacent land uses and development form. Staff recommended the urban general commercial zone, recommended denying the original request for the R3 and recommended the urban general commercial zone because the existing lot does not meet the minimum lot size requirements in the R3 residential zone. So in order to move forward as the triplex use, the urban general commercial zone was needed based on lot size. The staff also found the urban general commercial zone is more closely aligned with a mixed residential place type is recommended in the Area 3 Historic River to Ridge Area Plan. Both staff and Planning Commission recommending denying the R3, approving urban general commercial zone with the following conditions: residential use only and maximum building height of 3 stories. And there's additional slides should you desire to see those.
Any questions for the staff before we move to the applicant? All right, applicant, would you come forward and you'll have 7 minutes with a 2-minute rebuttal. So if you so choose. You would just give us your name, and Mr. IT, give us 7 minutes on the clock, please. Thank you.
My name is Nathan Brown, and I am working with the actual current owners of the property, which is a family partnership. They've owned the property for many years, and we've partnered together to bring a lot of the properties that they have in this area and adjacent districts back into use that have currently not been into use. And instead of tearing it down and waiting for something different to do, we wanted to bring it back and keep it more affordable. We think that as a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit, we could probably rent those somewhere in the $1,100 to $1,200 range, which is way more affordable than some of the $300,000 homes that are being built in the area.
All right. Now you will have a 2-minute rebuttal if you so choose. All right, hit 9 minutes back, put 9 minutes back on our clock, and opposition, you'll have a total of 9 minutes.
Well, thank you. This is the first for me to be in opposition to a zoning case. And
Would you
I
give
wanna-
us your name, please?
My name's Ethan Collier.
Thank
Technically, I'm not in opposition. I am a little bit, but I just wanted to be clear about the fact that it's exciting to see that there are multiple rezoning cases in and around the project that we're doing in Oak Grove. You just had one, which was item K, and then ours, and now this. So I think that's exciting to see. But I also think it's really important that as staff and planning commission make recommendations on these rezoning cases, that they're strictly held to, because the project that we're doing in Oak Grove, which is our Milltown project, we've made ourselves subject to some really stringent conditions in regards to where the building sits on the property, how the building is parked, the landscaping, the sidewalks, the street trees. I mean, it is as stringent as any form-based code is anywhere in Chattanooga or any other zone. And as other applicants come to make requests, I think it's really important that, you know, whatever recommendations are coming from RPA or the Planning Commission are truly considered and given great consideration. I and our company, we are opposed to an R3 zone. You know, every property that we've bought that's either M1 or R2, we've changed to the C3 zone that we have with conditions. And, you know, we've developed a lot of townhomes using the urban general commercial zone, which is what Planning Commission's recommended. And we're working really hard. We've made significant investments in that area. We've started over 60 houses and have made great efforts to remove the types of homes that are typically developed in R3. You know, I think arguably most of us that live in Chattanooga would rather not live around R3. We've zoned properties R3, but with a lot of conditions. And so I would ask that if you do move forward with some sort of R3, that there be some conditions in place to make sure that, you know, it stays fitting with the neighborhood. So I'm happy to answer any questions. It's super unusual for me to be in opposition.
Do we have any questions for the opposition at this point? I'm not seeing any lights. Thank you. Mr. Brown, you do have a 2-minute rebuttal.
I'll just say I can appreciate Mr. Collier and his company and what they're doing in the area. I think the property, it was originally built as a triplex. We just want to rehabilitate that, bring it back. I don't think it's out of form with what he's doing or what it has been for the last, 50 years that it's been sitting there, but for the last decade or so, just unused. And I'd like to bring it back into the community for some people to live there. That's it.
Okay, I do have a question just for clarification, Karen. This is R2 and requesting UGC, correct?
No, it is R2 and they requested, let me make sure, they requested R3. So with that, R2 generally would be like a duplex. R3 allows the there is not enough lot size. Based on our calculations, there was not enough lot size. It's a smaller lot to have a 3-unit a 3-unit multifamily residence and meet the lot size requirements. So because there was not enough lot size to establish a the 3-unit multifamily or triplex on that site, staff recommended the UGC instead. The UGC allows the development and based on the lot size that's there. So it's really a technicality of the lot size, still supporting the form, but the size of the lot is 0.17 acres. So just on our calculations, there was not enough lot size to put a triplex back into conformity there. So in order to bring that back into conformity, the nearest zone that we found that the plan recommendation was the urban general commercial zone. And the urban general commercial zone does have other urban form elements should this building get removed and it be redeveloped differently in the future.
Okay. Councilman Ledford.
Chairman, you've gone down the rabbit hole with me, ahead of me just a little bit. I wanted to make sure I understood what we were looking at, Karen. So the motion to approve this would be for UGC, not R3.
That's correct. The motion to approve would be to approve the urban general commercial zone.
Okay.
Yes.
And in the conditions, are we limited to any height restrictions?
We are. It is limited to, and I apologize, let me go back to my slide here. It's a little bit, basically, it is limited to residential
3
uses
stories.
only and maximum building height of 3 stories. That was intended to continue to be in conformity with the plan and to obviously it's 2 stories now, but if the property was redeveloped in the urban general commercial form, to limit it to 3 stories based on its location.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I think that was the right call.
And I apologize that that was not clear in the presentation. Sorry.
I'm good now. Thank you very much.
Councilwoman Coonrod.
Ms. Karen, you hit on it with the historic River to the Ridge plan, because our community members work so hard to have their voice heard in that plan. So I most definitely want to make sure that we're aligning with their voices in that plan and keep it that way moving forward. Nathan Brown, I do thank you for bringing that property back, because for 4 years I've been complaining about it, referring this piece of property to codes. So I'm just thankful finally somebody's saying let's fix it. Maybe those 4 years paying off in the end. Really thankful for the fire starter with Ethan, the get everybody else on board to want to invest in that neighborhood too. So I most definitely want to move to approve the planning and staff version of UGC and denial of R3.
Madam Attorney, I've got a question. Do we need to approve and deny at the same time? Well, her motion was to approve the UGC commercial. I'm just trying to get a clarification. Okay. Okay, I'm just trying to be clear. That's a little bit of an unusual motion that you just made to approve and deny at the same time.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Yeah, I just read what it said on the, like
Okay.
that version, that's what it say.
I think all we have to do is approve the UGC urban general commercial. Is that correct?
With certain conditions.
with certain
With
conditions.
the conditions, okay.
Okay. All right, so the motion on the floor is to approve the UGC urban general commercial with certain conditions.
Yes.
And we have a second, correct? Okay,
Yeah, okay.
I just want to make that clear. All right, are there any questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Hill, Councilman Ledford, Councilman Hester,
Yes.
Councilwoman Burrs, Councilwoman Dotley, Councilwoman Coonrod, Vice Chairman Smith,
Yes.
Chairman Henderson,
Yes.
8 yeses.
Motion to approve UGC urban general commercial with certain conditions carries. Madam Clerk, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to address exterior building material requirements.
Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did cover this in committee meeting, and I will move to approve.
We have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Coonrod, Councilwoman Dotley, Councilwoman Burrs, Councilman Hester, Councilman Ledford, Councilwoman Hill, Vice Chairman Smith, Chairman Henderson.
Yes,
8 yeses.
so moved. Karen, I think that concludes all of our planning items for this evening. Thank you.
We'll be back for 2 more if you need me.
I'm sorry?
I'll be back for 2 under resolution if you need me.
Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, we do. Moving now into resolutions, Madam Clerk, if there are no objections from the council, would you take 7A and B together, please?
You said A and B.
A and B.
Item A, a resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract for sale and purchase with Melvin R. Standifer and wife Kimberly D. Standifer in substantially the form attached for the acquisition of 932.34 square feet and for a temporary construction easement of 774.47 square feet on a portion of the property located at 5014 Creekside Preserve Drive, further identified as tax parcel number 110FC035, and to execute all documents necessary to complete the closing transaction for a total consideration of $37,500 with closing fees not to exceed $5,000 for a total amount not to exceed $42,500. Item B, a resolution authorizing the Administrator of Economic Development to award up to $40,000 in the home program funds to Habitat for Humanity or greater area Chattanooga to assist in the construction of a single-family house located at 235 Canary Circle for affordable home ownership.
What's the pleasure of the council? All right, we have a motion on the floor to approve 7A and B with a proper second. Questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Hill, Councilman Ledford, Councilman Hester, Councilwoman Burrs, Councilwoman Dotley, Councilwoman Coonrod, Vice Chairman Smith, Chairman Henderson.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Motion to approve 7A and B does carry. 7C, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor, his designee, to collectively with Hamilton County enter into a lease agreement with the Chattanooga Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, Inc., and substantially the form attached for the lease of the building at 2 Aquarium Way, Suite 138, further identified as a portion of tax parcel number 135K8001, with the building to be used exclusively for the operation of a visitor information center for a term of 3 years, with the option to renew for 2 additional terms of 1 year each at the consideration of $1 per year.
Councilwoman Coonrod. I'm sorry, Councilwoman Dotley.
Move to defer until November 30th.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to defer until November the 30th with a proper second. Any questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Coonrod, Councilwoman Dotley, Councilwoman Burrs, Councilman Hester, Councilman Ledford, Councilwoman Hill, Vice Chairman Smith, Chairman Henderson.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Motion to defer until November 30th carries 8-0. Now, Madam Clerk, if there are no objections from the council, would you take 7D all the way through G, please?
Item D, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Community Development to accept, if awarded, a Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD grant for rapid rehousing and supportive services for homeless families in the amount of $333,000. Item E, a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of an amount not to exceed $16,500,000 principal amount of the City of Chattanooga General Obligation Bond Series 2021A. Item F, a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of an amount not to exceed $26 million principal amount of the City of Chattanooga General Obligation Refunding Bond Series 2021B. Item G, a resolution authorizing the interim chief human resources officer to renew the existing agreement with Onsite RS Inc. to provide on-site pharmacy services to include mail order and on-the-job injury medication for city employees, retirees, and dependents covered under the city's health plan for the second of 3 one-year renewal options for an annual service fee of $20.32 per employee per month, PEPM, in addition to purchasing prescription and over-the-counter products through Onsite RX Inc. at the cost of approximately $8.2 million per year and paying applicable sales taxes at the approximate rate of $15,000 per year.
Councilwoman Burrs. We have a motion on the floor to approve items 7D through G with a proper second. Are there any questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Hill. Councilman Ledford. Councilman Hester. Councilwoman Burrs. Councilwoman Dotley. Councilwoman Coonrod. Vice Chairman Smith. Chairman Henderson.
Yes.
8 yeses.
So moved. Moving now into our planning items. Madam Clerk, 7H, please.
A resolution authorizing an abandonment of a planned unit development for the property located at 1601 Eucalyptus Drive as detailed on the attached maps.
Case 2021-0170. Is the applicant present? Is there any opposition present? Councilman Hester? We have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Coonrod. Councilwoman Dotley. Councilwoman Burrs. Councilman Hester. Councilman Ledford. Councilwoman Hill. Vice Chairman Smith. Chairman Henderson.
Yes.
8 yeses.
Motion to approve carries. 7I, please.
A resolution approving a special exceptions permit for a residential plan unit development for the property located at 1601 Eucalyptus Drive.
Is the 2021-0171, is the applicant present? Is there any opposition present? Councilman Hester? We have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Hill. Councilman Ledford. Councilman Hester. Councilwoman Burrs. Councilwoman Dotley. Councilwoman Coonrod. Vice Chairman Smith. Chairman Henderson.
Yes.
8 yeses.
So moved. All right, moving now down into our purchases. I see no Mr. Goldberg today, so it looks like we'll get Julia back. Oh,
Just one purchase for you today, council. We have one under the Waste Resources Division of Public Works. This is a new blanket contract for grounds maintenance. This will be a 4-year contract, not to exceed $55,000 per year. There were 9 bids requested and 6 returned. The award will go to Thrive Outdoor Inc. as the best complete bid for the city of Chattanooga.
council, you've heard the request. What's your pleasure? We have a motion on the floor to approve tonight's purchases with a proper second. Questions or comments before we vote? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Coonrod. Councilwoman Dotley. Councilwoman Burrs. Councilman Hester. Councilman Ledford. Councilwoman Hill. Vice Chairman Smith. Chairman Henderson.
Yes.
8 yeses.
So moved. All right, now we move to committee reports. I'll start with Councilwoman Coonrod. There we go.
We had a presentation today on a pilot for STEAM logistics. It's going to create 400 jobs with a median salary of 56,000. And their goal, they want to be intentional about recruiting college graduates and people that are persons of color.
Thank you. Councilwoman Dotley. Vice Chair Smith. Councilwoman Burrs. Councilman Hester. Councilman Ledford. Councilwoman Hill. Thank you. Moving now to other business. Who's given our informational item? That was Joda.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I guess it'd be David.
We just have an informational item, which is a report on a plan for refunding the city's proposed issuance of an estimated 21,995,000 general obligation refunding bonds. And I'm sure Daisy can tell us a little bit more about that.
Council, as you know, we're always looking for opportunities to save money or to use the money that we have more efficiently. This report is another step in our process of issuance of the bonds that are outstanding. Seems to me it's coming before us every week for some reason or another. But this action, in order to refund the bonds, has to be approved by the state. And the state has submitted a letter that you should have a copy of, granting or approving our refinancing plan, which should save the city estimated $2.5 million, give or take, or 9 to 10% of the 2011 bonds that are being refinanced. And that's what that's about.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments for Ms. Daisy? I'm seeing no lights. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, we have a couple of IODs, settlements that we need to approve tonight. Madam Attorney.
I'm actually going to ask to be 50 for 1 week. I have reasons to leave it, so it might be a mistake.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. All right, that does take us through all of our agenda items for this afternoon. We move now to persons wishing to address the council this afternoon. It's my understanding that we have no one signed up on our Zoom platform this afternoon, so I will turn to our audience and ask if there's anyone present this afternoon that would like to address the council. All right, I'm going to ask the attorney if she would to read the rules to address the council. While she's doing that, Mr. IT, if you could get us 3 minutes on the clock, please.
3 minutes. Good afternoon. My name is Antonio.
Hold on.
All right, you're gonna line up here and speak when you're recognized by the chairman. If anybody else would like to speak, please line up behind this gentleman at the podium. You will have 3 minutes to speak on any issue that is within the legislative or qualified judicial authority of this board.
Give us your name and district number, please, sir. And you can begin.
Antonio Boston, 2805 North Chamber Avenue, Chattanooga, Tennessee, 3746. I'm here to address the council. This is my second year that I can't feed my seniors at Avondale Center. It's because the center is closed. I wasn't aware of that. I'm a big volunteer of the community. I feed hundreds and hundreds of people every year in the Avondale community during Thanksgiving. And I got word today that I couldn't have it. My sponsors called me, and it's just awful because I have homeless people, I have elderly people that waits on me every year to do this. And I'm not asking the city for no money. I use my own money out my pocket. I give away clothes, shoes, food. Some of the people in the neighborhood don't have Thanksgiving. I provide Thanksgiving for these people. And they having everything else on Main Street, all over Chattanooga. But when it comes, I just asked for a couple hours at Avondale Center next week. It's gonna be a last minute thing now because my plans have changed to feed my people in my community. This is the second year. I understand the COVID, they want to get 7% COVID rates up in our community. I understand that, but it's a way to do things. And I have asked the health department, Ms. Hubbard and Dr. Hubbard to work with me about getting numbers up. I can get the numbers up. It's all about who you present yourself to. And we trying. Some people still don't believe in the COVID shot. I got my COVID shots. But I was asking a couple hours, Avondale Center, can y'all open the centers back up? We close and we open. We close and we open. You paying light bill, water bill. The city is wasting money because they open, they close. They open because we're going to keep them open or we're going to close them. But I just want to just feed my people like I do every year. And the council, I'm not asking y'all for nothing. I provide everything. I just need your approval so I can give away back to my community. And I do a lot of Avondale. And I just want y'all help because I keep getting a runaround. I call city council, call city hall, they say, refer me to this person, that person. Who's in charge? I want to know.
Turn around, Joe, to raise your hand.
That would be me for now.
See.
So I'd be happy to get with you afterwards, but I just wanted to let the council know we have a phased reopening plan for the community centers, and we're planning to have some more information to you next week. Obviously, the situation with COVID is something that we're paying very close attention to, and then the risk of having kids in centers, and it's a serious liability we take to heart, and we are seeing a decline in case numbers, so we feel confident that we can begin a phased approach to reopening, and we'll be able to bring you more information about that next week.
All right, thank you. Tony, if you don't mind, if you have more questions, you can get with Joe after the meeting. All right, thank you. All right, give us 3 minutes on the clock. And you can begin.
Thank you, Council. Monty Bell, the homeless journalist, the gray-haired fox. East 11th Street. I'm not sure what district that falls in anymore. I think I've been laying on the street so long, my mind has just given me a blank. We've got 2 or 3 council representatives for East 11th Street. We entered a verbal contract with District 8 to give us porta potties, to give us bathrooms, to give us dumpsters, to give us safety, to get us off the streets. And we later find that he's engaged in a contract in East Ridge outside of his municipality. We later find that a group known as the Ambassadors from this outfit known as the Downtown Chattanooga Allowance, I think you all favored that group in, and I asked you not to, that beat the brains out of my homeless people on 11th Street, where we're not sure if it's District 7, District 8, or District 9. And we've got a council representative, a graduate from my high school. And by the way, I was invited to Franklin, Tennessee, where we're getting ready to go to file a case against you all to see if they will allow us in their courts, because my case seems to be going to UT Knoxville. It keeps going to UT Memphis. Now I've got a case in Franklin, Tennessee. By the way, I was invited there because about 40 years ago, I changed the mascot of my school from a rebel to the Panthers. And here we have some kids in Franklin, Tennessee. Mr. Bell, can you come and tell us how you did it? Because we want to graduate in 2021 other than a rebel. And a couple of Saturdays ago, a 16-year-old boy got the pleasure of seeing a United States colored troop. The first time anybody in this country heard of the United States colored troops is from the mouth of Monty Bell. Who are the United States colored troops? They're the world's best kept secret as far as Chattanooga is concerned. They're a regiment of black men that destroyed white folks during the Civil War in 1862. The story was never told until now, until the criminal court history of Monty Bell is being told. I want to know from Councilman Byrd, why did he enter into this contract thinking I was going to be beaten to death? We talked to the office of the city attorney, where we're now charging you all with having an assassination attempt against a political candidate known as Monty Bell, the homeless journalist, a gray-haired fox, who should be Chattanooga's next mayor. So while you all are sitting here in silence, we're going to do something especially grand for you. We're cooking up another storm. And I thank you. I thank you very much.
All right, anyone else that would like to address the council this afternoon?
Good evening,
Evening.
council members. My name is Doug Carlson. I live at 835 River Gorge Drive in Lookout Valley. I served 2 terms in city council in Wildwood, Missouri. It's a suburb of St. Louis. And in Wildwood, the public comment was at the beginning of the agenda. Never quite appreciated that until tonight, but I was glad to be here and watch the meeting. Why am I here? So I am here to highlight a couple of topics that are really important to me and should be important to everybody. Sustainability and resiliency. The climate is changing. We can argue about the cause, but throw a few statistics out. Chattanooga is the 6th fastest warming city in the country. Last year was the wettest year on record in Tennessee Valley. July of this year was the hottest month on record. We have combined sewer overflows that continue and will only get worse if nothing significant is done about it. And low-income communities continue to be hit the hardest by the changing climate. However, we still need to grow as a community and as a city and as a region. We need to do that sustainably and keep resiliency foremost, because these things are going to continue to happen if emissions stop tomorrow. But there's an opportunity here with this. The transition to a carbon-free economy is happening. The ship is turning. And the regions and the cities that recognize that and embrace it stand to gain immensely, environmentally, socially, and economically. Chattanooga has the capacity to be a leader in that area. We do so much with startups and the Innovation District, and we can really be a leader and embrace this transition. One of the ways to do that is the Integrated Community Sustainability Plan, or ICSP. And for those that might not be familiar, it's a project that was facilitated by Green Spaces and contains strategies in 6 different areas, including resilient communities, ecosystems, waste and materials, energy, mobility, and water. My vision for the city is that we adopt, finalize, and integrate those strategies into city operations. I'm currently connecting with like-minded folks in all the districts, and I would expect that we will be reaching out to you individually to have future conversations about what that means and about your views and plans related to sustainability and resiliency. Even if climate science is wrong, these things should happen to be the community that we can be. Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to address the council this afternoon?
Good afternoon, City Council
Good afternoon.
Chair. My name is Kelvin Scott. I'm in District 9. And I just have a quick question. When is the deadline for the City Council to look at cutting their lands like the county done? And we know how some of the school board lands are redone. And the reason I'm asking, there's been such an uproar in the community as to how the county did theirs. I was just wondering, is there a deadline or is there a time frame that you all will look at doing your maps?
Councilwoman Burrs is working on that. You want to hit your lump?
So actually, we've got quite a deadline. We've started looking at data. I chair the committee for redistricting, and we have a long way to go. It has to happen before the next election. The administration person in charge of that is Chris Anderson, who's right behind you, and he can fill you in on all those data. But our committee has started working, and we have a ways to go. We don't quite have the deadline that the school board or the county has. We have a ways to go yet. So we're being very deliberate. And right now we can tell you that it's not going to be, we're not adding any districts. It's not going to be a panic change. It'll be a very slight change. We have to do it according to the census. and we'll be getting those data. We're still looking at how various groups are classified, et cetera. We're waiting for an Attorney General's opinion. So do you have any specific question?
Well, you hit it. I was more concerned if you're going to add seats like the county did, and I know it's potentially possible, maybe 2 seats added to the school board. So I was wondering if it's going to be a uniformity thing, or you already answered it. So I just know that
Okay.
the
And when we start working on all of that, it'll all be public.
Okay.
But any questions that you have at cburs@chattanooga.gov, and I'll be happy to answer them or speak to anyone that you need spoken to.
All right.
Good
Thank you.
questions.
Thank you.
You, sir.
All right, anyone else that would like to address the council this afternoon? Anyone else that would like to address the council? Council, I am not seeing any other hands. What's your pleasure? So moved.